So, good day, guys. What we have here is a Spider-Man 3 black suit from Hot Toys. It's represented by Tobey Maguire, and it's the last Spider-Man film from Sam Raimi back in the early 2000s before he called it quits in the series. Regardless to say, the movie wasn't very good, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the very expensive figure that we have here. Oh, look at that, evil Spider-Man. Okay, so I got a request to do this. I wasn't really supposed to do him because after the No Way Home film was released, all the old Spider-Man figures represented by Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, they just shot up in value so much that it became not worth it for me personally. So I got this on a very good deal, a very, very extremely good deal, like in a once in a lifetime deal. So that's the only reason I got him. Yes, I wouldn't have gotten him with how much he retails right now. I think the lowest is around $400 and it shoots up to $900. Oh my god. Or more realistically, $650. I got him around 350, something like that, converted to our currency, Philippine pesos. And that's the only reason I got him. Aside from that, I won't be getting him. So anyway, let's talk about the figure. What I try to do with my videos is talk about figures that are very expensive and are considered grails for some. So I spent some time with this Spider-Man figure, and to start with, my first impression, I before that, I just like to say that I owned quite a bit of Hot Toys Spider-Man figures and third-party Spider-Man figures, and I've been let down with its articulation. They look good and all, but they just can't do the Spider-Man stuff I have in my head when I first bought them. So when I got this, the suit is made of 100% cloth, so it's not gonna rot, it's not gonna fall down. So I was so impressed. And to add that, the texture of the cloth, it feels like a real Spider-Man suit, because back then I was imagining that a Spider-Man suit would feel a certain way, and when I touched the texture of the costume for the first time, I was so blown away because it really did feel like, how the way I imagined it. And it came with a Spider-Man mask head sculpt. But it was okay, but when I pop in this evil Tobey Maguire, it's just sad that Tobey Maguire became a meme there because of his emo hair and dance sequence. But if you remove that from memory, this is probably the scariest Spider-Man ever made by a 1/6 company. Yeah, when I think about it. If you look at the expression, because I'm just so blown away with the expression, that this is like the only evil Spider-Man that feels in my collection, and especially with the head sculpt, Tobey looks really fierce there. It's not a 100% Tobey Maguire, but it's a good thing. Personally, I find it a good thing because he just looks more fierce, more like Peter Parker, more than Tobey Maguire, to be honest. So I was so blown away because one of the things is that the body proportion. I've owned a lot of Spider-Man, and although the video game series are very muscular Spider-Man, they don't have the body structure similar to this, because I think back then Hot Toys was working with a more realistic portrayal of Spider-Man. And if you notice, the way his muscles are pop out in the cloth, they remind me of real people who actually lift weights. And it really looks like a roided out Peter Parker on steroids. So I was really impressed with that. I love the biceps and the chest, and no other Spider-Man has that kind of proportions in my collection, or rather even the stuff I've seen. So I was really impressed with those. I was so blown away. I even said that this is probably the best Spider-Man I've ever owned because I can pose it any way I want without worrying about anything. But the longer I owned it, the more I realized that there are a bit of downsides and why they eventually stopped making this kind of Spider-Man suit. First and foremost, you'll get used to it. I mean, the first problem rather. Okay, let's start with the first problem I ran into. When I took off the head sculpt, the neck peg came off, and then it was hard to reattach it to the body because I was scared of I might run out the suit or something. Suffice to say, I don't think this figure can survive a lot of head sculpts. So that's why I'm staying with this Tobey Maguire head sculpt forever if I can, if I can afford it. And that's the first problem I ran into. The second is, even though it's very poseable, you can really pose it like crazy. The suit just folds and runs in very, very bad ways. It just looks bad. It's realistic, and because it's realistic, it looks bad. If I want you to look at some photos on the internet, I mean, I can do it. I cannot articulate him right now because of the nature of my review. But if you just check out some pictures, his suit bunches up worse than the modern Spider-Man. You see, the problem with the modern Spider-Man figures is that their suits bunch up and they get damaged if you leave them for a long time. This one doesn't get damaged, but it just looks really bad. It looks so bad that I just had to get him back into this pose, this evil, menacing pose, because truth be told, as poseable as he is, evil, menacing poses are the only things where I'm very satisfied with the way he looks. Okay. The next problem is the hands. The hands, you see, if you look closely or if you become a bit OC, you'll realize that it's older Hot Toys. I mean, this is a 10-year-old. This was released back in 2012, so it's 10 years old. So the hands, apart from being the wrong proportion, look at the wrist and the hands itself. The wrists are tiny, and the hands are just so big, probably because they are made from different material. You can see it. The wrist part is cloth, while the hand part, it's basically plastic. So there's a difference in material. I mean, it's not noticeable, but the proportions are just wrong. Nobody said it when I was watching other reviews, but the proportions are just terrible, especially if you make it clear. That's why I try to hide it with some poses, but I changed this crawling hand pose, so that you can see how wrong the proportions are if you look hard enough. So the other negative stuff aren't things that bothered me, like the bunching up in the boot area. That part there bunches up a bit, but it doesn't bother me. What bothers me instead is the general bunching up the suit when you try to get him in a 3-point landing pose, a crawling pose. It still cannot do those things that would satisfy me. So I talk about the bad things. I forgot to talk about another good thing. Behind him, you're seeing a lot of figures right now. Behind him, this one. Let's zoom in for a bit. Okay. And there is a Sandman Diorama base. And I think it's the only Sandman once representation you will get in 1/6. I'm rather new to collecting, but suffice to say, Sandman is not a very popular character. I won't get him standalone, but having him come with this in his monster form, I am very happy that at least I have a rogues gallery to represent Sandman. And if you pose him with a sinister 6, he really looks the part. So I'm very happy that they made a base like this. It's one of the best things about this figure. So if you're gonna ask my opinion, oh, sorry about that. Let's focus a bit. If you're gonna ask my opinion, is he worth that's given amount, $450? I'm going to tell you that it's only gonna be worth it if you're a very die-hard Spider-Man fan, meaning a die-hard 1/6 figure Spider-Man fan, because I discovered something about myself. I am a Spider-Man fan, but I am not a 1/6 figure Spider-Man fan because I just don't have the patience nor the imagination to pose 1/6 figure Spider-Man where they look good. And add that I have to check them constantly because their suits get damaged if you pose them wrong. So if you're the type of person who is a 1/6 figure Spider-Man fan, you will love it. You will love this. But it comes with another disclaimer. I got this mint. It smelled like new. It felt like new. And the wrist and the joints are new. But I can tell, just from articulating it, that this figure's not gonna have a long life on its ankles and knees. They just don't feel as solid. So if you articulate him a lot, it's just a matter of time that he's gonna break down. I mean, that's just the nature of old Hot Toys. Some Hot Toys figure, not only old Hot Toys, but some modern Hot Toys figure also suffer from that. The weak ankles, weak knees, and sometimes even weak legs, this symptom. So I would only recommend that you get him for like $400 if you're an average fan. For me, if you're gonna ask me, I'm not gonna get him for $400. I'm just gonna be very honest with you here. I don't think I'll get him for $400. Paying $350 for him was very hard for me already because, well, I really don't know where to post him. But the thing is, I got this guy here, this Venom. Look at that Venom. It's made by Bullet Head. It doesn't really have great quality. But because I got that Venom, it's rare. It's overpriced for its quality just because it is the only comic book 1/6 figure Venom available in the market. So when I got him, I just had to have this suit so I can pose them together. They're not very comic book accurate, but they just look great together. Look at the spider signs. They look very close together. So that's the reason why I have him set up here, this Venom figure. Just so you can see that the reason why I got him for $350 was just to have them together in the shelf like that. They're so badass together. But without Venom, $350 is asking a lot from someone like me. And take note, I'm a Spider-Man fan. Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel character when you come to think of it, especially with the amount of Spider-Man that I own. It's funny, I own a lot of Spider-Man 1/6 figures because I'm a Spider-Man fan, but I am slowly discovering I am just not a 1/6 Spider-Man fan. Those two things are very different. So for die-hard collectors, it's very hard to find him at a good price. He's very rare. Maybe that's why he commands that price. Or you could wait for the hype to die down because everybody's still riding the No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home hype. But maybe if it dies down a bit, because the thing is, this is the only official Tobey Maguire head sculpt. There are third-party head sculpts and they're done very well. I don't own them, but I saw them. They're good, especially the wrestling suit Spider-Man. I forgot the company who made them. It's very cheap and it's very good. So it just gives you no reason to splurge that much, to spend that much on this, because I'm not even sure if this is gonna be a Grail figure. I'm not sure it's gonna hold its value. But there are some things that indicate it might hold its value. I mean, the Sandman base there, it's the only one. Spider-Man black suit here, it's the only one. That kind of head sculpt of Tobey Maguire, it's the only one. Evil looking Spider-Man, it's the only one. So it checks a lot of boxes that it just might retain its value, especially for people like me. I don't think the younger generation would know him as well or appreciate the old Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. So I guess I'm gonna end my review on that note. I hope you've learned something. I'm working without a script right now. I just want to share my impressions, my review. I guess that's it. I hope you learned something. If there are any questions you want to recommend me a figure that I would review, I'll do my best to review it in ways that other reviewers did not do it. So that's why I'm getting the older ones, or the ones where I don't see much reviews going on online. So that's it. Send your requests. I'll do my best to buy them. Because I'm also interested with expensive figures, just so I can talk about them here. Anyway, have a nice day. Thanks, guys.